What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for January 8th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the podcast. Happy Hump Day to everyone out there on a cold Wednesday morning here in the Philadelphia area. And before we even get into the housekeeping thing, I don't even know where this is going to go, where this is coming from. But did you ever get a song stuck in your head for no reason? Like you maybe heard it somewhere and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, that was a pretty good song. I'm dealing with that this morning. I don't know if it was somehow in the gym this morning or what, but Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, Say. I forgot about the song, that it even existed. And I've been listening to it as I've been doing my prep this morning. So check it out if you want. You know, sometimes I'll throw some random music nuggets out there, but pretty good song. I forgot about that. Say. Ooh, what you? All right, I won't, because we might get fined, but I also don't want to hurt your ears. But yeah, just one of those random things. I can't get it out of my head. It might have been something I heard yesterday. I don't know, but good song. Forgot it existed. And I really did think, I had to look it up, that Stevie Wonder played harmonica on it. And I don't know why I thought that, but he didn't. Maybe at some award show or something he did at some point. But anyway, enough about Paul and Michael. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont, Twitter and TikTok. At Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Let's continue to grow this thing. Spread the word. We were in the On Pattison newsletter yesterday, so go give them a check out. Good Philadelphia sports coverage from those guys. But like I said, we're in there like once or twice a week. Good dudes over there. John Foley is one of the guys who runs the newsletter. He's a good dude as well. Does a lot of stuff with Philly. So go check out On Pattison. And I'm still waiting to hear the final release date and details. Might be next week. Just kind of looking at the schedule, but will be featured as the fan of the week on KYW. Hopefully it's in celebration of an Eagles win on Sunday, but we'll have more on the Eagles later in the show. We're going to start off with our forgiveness today. And as we've been doing every day since January 1st, instead of New Year's resolutions, because everybody always falls off the wagon, breaks their New Year's resolution, we're doing something different. We're trying to bring the good karma to our Philly sports teams through forgiveness. And what better way to bring good energy, good vibes, good karma, release the negativity out of your soul, and just make your aura, I don't know, I'm not big into the auras, but I think it's probably like a bright color, a bright glowing aura, then to forgive people who have done us wrong here in Philly sports. And since it is a playoff week, we've been kind of going, having some tough ones this week. We've had Chip Kelly, Rich Kotite, and it's going to be more of the same today. Trying to do whatever we can to release that negativity and bring nothing but good vibes to our teams. So today, we are going to forgive Ruben Amaro Jr. and not for his play on the field. He was who he was as a player, just a kind of like a journeyman bench role player. He was on that 93 team. But no, we're going to forgive him for his time as general manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, Rube worked under Ed Wade and Pat Gillick, both of whom are largely responsible and very instrumental in building that championship 2008 Phillies team. A lot of the core guys were drafted by Ed Wade, and then Pat Gillick made some shrewd moves, bringing in guys like Shane Victorino, Jason Worth. I believe Carlos Ruiz was one of them, signing Pedro Feliz. All of those guys, like I said, played a pivotal part. Obviously, the bullpen, bringing Brad Lidge. I forget whether Ryan Matson was drafted by the Phillies or not. But either way, those two guys were very instrumental. But Ruben was a part of the staff for both of them as their time as general manager. Now, Ruben took over in 2009. To his credit, he did win 3 divisions and a pennant. But the team was mostly made up of the guys that the Ed Wade, Pat Gillick crew, the core guys were their guys. Ruben did win those divisions and make the World Series, though, by mortgaging the future, depleting the farm system, blah, blah, blah. We all know the story. And I always thought it was funny, mortgaging the future, because I read this one time long ago on Twitter. And essentially, anybody who's ever bought a house or bought a car or took out a loan is mortgaging their future. I just thought that was an interesting tidbit. But he depleted the farm system to bring in those guys. But to his credit, he was going for it. He saw that the window was the Phillies had a finite window. Ruben, he went for it. He was all about pitching. If you listen to him today, whether it's on Postgame Live, when he's on the broadcast, he talks about you can never have enough pitching. Went after Cliff Lee, Roy Halladay, Roy Oswalt, made the big move the same day the Eagles signed Nnamdi Asomugha for Hunter Pence. Also, too, I did do some research. He was responsible for drafting Aaron Nola and Rhys Hoskins, who also were big parts of the 2022 World Series team. But then he did have some questionable moves there late once he realized the farm system was depleted and there was nobody coming up. So he signed a bunch of aging veterans who just never worked out. Gave Ryan Howard the monster contract more as a reward for what he had done, more so than what he was going to produce, and really hamstrung the team there for a couple years. Because if you look at the numbers, Ryan was already starting to get nicked up, starting to get injured, and his numbers were declining when he signed the contract. Trading Cliff Lee for the first time was pretty dumb. I think if they'd have kept Cliff Lee and Roy Halladay that 2010 year, Phillies would have won another World Series. Of course, he overvalued Don Brown, called him a six-tool player, whatever that is, and really could have gotten a lot for him at the time and helped replenish the farm system, but didn't want to give him up. And we know Don Brown is known for basically having an amazing 6-week stretch as a Philly. Didn't sign and couldn't sign enough free agents to fill in the void that he left for the bullpen or the farm system. And I don't know, maybe if they'd have given him more time, he could have maybe replenished that. Like I said, he did work under Ed Wade. But we're going to forgive Ruben for trading Cliff Lee away in the first place when you could have had him and Roy Halladay at the same time, likely winning the 2010 World Series. We'll forgive him for the Ryan Howard contract. We'll forgive him for overvaluing Don Brown. We'll forgive him basically for 2012 through 2018. And I will say, if things played out differently in 09, 10, or 11, we're probably having a different conversation about Ruben Amaro. Had the Phillies won one more World Series during that window, I think we're having a different conversation about Ruben. However, they didn't. He earned the nickname Ruben Amaro Jr. And for that, Ruben, we forgive you, because in the end, it did work out for the Phillies. Would have loved to have had one more World Series championship, but I think also deep down, Ruben is a Philly guy, born and raised here, and Penn Charter, if you watch the Goldbergs. So Ruben's a Philly guy, and in honor of our New Year's forgiveness and trying to bring the good vibes, we got to forgive a Philly guy. So Ruben Amaro, I forgive you. And if you want a little bonus for all of you out there, if you want to forgive him for his work on pre and post game live and the broadcast, you're more than welcome to do that. But I'm going to give you a hot take here. I actually don't mind Ruben Amaro too much when he's on the radio, when he's on the broadcast and everything. But you are more than welcome. If you want to get that little extra good karma and forgive him for that too, be my guest. But Ruben Amaro Jr., we forgive you basically for 2012 through 2018 when we had zero farm system. You depleted it all. But to your credit, you did go for it. So I respect that. And for that, and the fact you're a Philly guy, we forgive you. Be sure to check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast. Great things happening with their Sports Fan Network. That's available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And then go to Philly Goat. It's Eagles playoff week. Get some gear. get ready for what should be a Super Bowl run. We'll get more into the Eagles, so we got some positive news on the horizon here. But go to Philly Goat, get some shirts, hoodies, hats. I know one of my buddies went to St. Joe's Prep, grabbed one of the St. Joe's Prep hats they have. All kinds of good stuff. You got to search through the website because there's just things all over the place that are phenomenal. So go to Philly Goat, use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. All right, Flyers lost to the Maple Leafs last night 3-2. Lost it in the third. They were tied going into the third period. Gave up a goal. Outshot the Maple Leafs, actually. Just couldn't get anything to fall. Had some good looks. Just was one of those nights. They fought hard, though. The energy was good. The crowd was a little flat at one point, but I guess you'll have this. Again, I keep reminding everybody, this is a rebuilding year. This is the time, though, if you're going to get on the Flyers bandwagon, to get on. They just need to keep that energy going as they take on the Dallas Stars tomorrow night at the Wells Fargo Center. Sixers are in action tonight at the Wells Fargo Center against the Wizards. No Joel, no Paul George, no Kyle Lowry. They're going to screw around and lose this game to the Wizards. You watch. And I swear, like, you can, like clockwork, every single time I jump back on and go all in with the Sixers, this is what they do to me. And if ever an analogy was accurate, it's the Sixers being Lucy with the football, the crazy ex-girlfriend who I fall for the BS lines all the time. Here we are with the Sixers, Wizards tonight. All right, but the story of the week is the Eagles-Packers. So let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, should we be concerned that Kellen Moore got the interview request from the Saints, which I did look. They have like 8 guys they're bringing in for interviews. So depending on how things go, I still haven't heard whether the Eagles granted permission yet or not. However, 50% of you said yes, 50% of you said no. I'm right in the middle. I mean, it's annoying. I still wish the NFL would do something different, but I don't see Kellen Moore being from the same ilk as Jonathan Gannon, where Jonathan Gannon was checked out, jerk. More on him later this month. But thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. There'll be another one later in the show. But today is a huge day for this game. Based on everything I've been hearing, the final step in the concussion protocol is having a full day of practice and then seeing how you feel the next day. Well, the Eagles haven't practiced since the game on Sunday. Jalen Hurts was not practicing before that. So in order to get out of concussion protocol, you have to have a practice. So they're back on the practice field today, and that should give us a lot of insight on Jalen. Last night, though, I did see, and I mentioned this yesterday, and this is a huge sign pointing toward Jalen being able to play. Ian Book was waived. So that means the 3 quarterbacks on the roster are Jalen Hurts, Kenny Pickett, and Tanner McKee. I guess that's also good news for Kenny Pickett's availability, depending on which side of the aisle you're on, whether you think Kenny or Tanner should be the backup. But we'll know roughly, probably, I think practice is around 1 or 2 today. So early this afternoon, we should know Jalen's status for Sunday's game. But all signs are pointing toward Jalen playing, which leads us to today's question of the day. Are you concerned? There's been a lot of talk about rust with Jalen Hurts. Are you concerned that Jalen's going to come out rusty? 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Let me know your thoughts on that. Anything else Philly sports related? You want to talk about Ruben? It's fair game. I know they've been tough this week, but we need all the good karma we can heading into the game. Maybe you hate him on the broadcast. You can rip me for that too. But are you concerned about rust with Jalen? I'm not necessarily concerned about rust with Jalen as much as I'm more concerned. As far as we know, I think this is his first concussion that he's had in the NFL. I don't know if he had one in college. I don't know if he had one like maybe his rookie year or something. but I'm more concerned with him altering the way he plays, maybe not being as aggressive, scrambling and taking off if nothing's open. I don't know if the tush push will be affected. I'm more concerned about that than Russ. But let me know your thoughts. Are you concerned about Russ with Jalen Hurts? 267-495-8531. Shoot me a text. Shoot me a voicemail on the Back to the Future voice and text line. All right, today we're going to go back to 2000. And on this night in 2000, it was a big night for the Flyers down at the then First Union Center. They were taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins, scored 3 goals within 3 minutes and 22 seconds of each other midway through the first period, and then coasted to a 6-2 win. Mark Recchi and Mikael Renberg each had a goal and 2 assists. 6 different Flyers scored goals that day. It extended their home winning streak to 15 games, or home unbeaten streak to 15 games. And the big story was goalie John Vanbiesbrouck. Remember Beezer? Notched his 350th career victory. And if you remember that 99-2000 Flyers season, they won the Atlantic Division, got the 1 seed. That was the year of the 5 overtime game against the Penguins. They would go on to lose to the Devils in the Eastern Conference Finals after leading 3 games to 1 in that series. And that was the end of the Eric Lindros era in Philly when Scott Stevens basically laid him out in the third period. But on this night in 2000, big night for the Flyers, beating the Penguins 6-2. They scored 3 goals within about 3.5 minutes of each other. John Vanbiesbrouck with his 350th career victory en route to the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference that year. Let me know your thoughts on Jalen. Are you concerned about the rust? I'm not, like I said, I'm not concerned about the rust as I am about his mindset after having the concussion. But all that is fair game on the Back to the Future voice and text line. We'll have more on the Sixers tomorrow, more on the Eagles-Packers. Hopefully we get positive injury update news for Jalen Hurts. Maybe they'll start ramping up practice today and tomorrow to help shake off some of that rust. Ruben Amaro Jr., we forgive you for your role and your time here as general manager. To your credit, you went for it. Didn't work out. But I do think, and that could be a bonus question on the Back to the Future voice and text line, I really think if things had played out differently and they won one of those other 3 times, like in 09, 10, or 11, I think we're having a different conversation about Rube. But let me know your thoughts. He is a Philly guy after all. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for January 8th, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Wednesday. Check out and give yourself a listen to the Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson, Say, Say, Say. You'll appreciate it. Trust me. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.